In this tutorial, we're going to continue with our project by finishing up this Flash project so that we can import it into our Catalyst application. But if you are following along with my files, then you can of course just open up what I have here, open up the start file. If you're designing your own, what I would still suggest is that you open up basically the file that I have here and then replace it with all of your graphics if you want to be able to have your own look. And of course, if you're using this with my graphics, you cannot use it for your portfolio. But if you're doing it with your own graphics, then you can. So that's the benefit, of course, doing it with all of your own stuff. But you can at least keep the organization that I have here. So the very first thing that I have here, if we just take a look at the organization again, my title bar at the top, that will be persistent through the entire application. And then I've got these home buttons. And these home buttons will be only for the home screen. Now inside them, if I take a look, I've got three groups which I could go ahead and break apart. It doesn't really matter. If I break them apart, break it apart here, you'll see I've got my three different items of text and then I've got three buttons. Now these buttons right now have an instance name. That one says Bio button, but I didn't give an instance names to paintings. So I can go ahead and do that paintings button and then mandalas button. And the reason that I'm doing this is going through and making sure that everything is organized. Now, does it have to be super organized? Maybe not always, because this is pretty easy. You'll see I have biography, paintings, and mandalas here, and we can tell that they're visually on top of each other. So since our file is pretty well organized already, I'm not going to hyper organize it. Anyway, I've got my back, and the back button, that doesn't really need to be on right now, so I'm going to hide the home. Let's take a look at this next thing. We have art controls. This is going to be for the title of our artwork and the left and right, and I've given those next and previous. So we've got those already applied. Now I also want you to be aware that they have a filter. If I look under filter, I've given them both a drop shadow. And you might also look at them and notice that they have a little rounded corner. And the way I did that, if you want to do it yourself, is opening something like Illustrator. So you can easily open up Illustrator, apply something like a rounded corner effect. I'll even give it a 15 pixel border this time. Whoops. And then you can copy and paste that graphic from Illustrator into Flash. That way you can get some of those other graphics. Of course, you can also develop your entire project in Illustrator. There is one major difference though, and we're about to come to it, and that is here in mandalas. So let's open up our mandalas. You'll notice that we don't have anything here right now except for the text. We are going to be showing this background, so you'll see that background fits right to it right now. So what we're going to do is import our different assets. So if I go to the assets here, I know that I'm going to use these mandalas 1, 2, and 3. So let's drag these in to our Flash file and place them. I didn't really worry too much about exactly where they're being placed, except for the fact that I do need to be on the layer in order for them to be placed. If I'm not on an open layer, and I will replace any existing items right now, if I'm not on the layer, it's not going to work well. So anyway, here are the three items that I've got, and you can see three layers exist. So I'm going to get this first one to snap where it needs to go. And if I take a look at that, it says X45. I'm going to make sure that that's set to 0, and Y130. Perfect. This next one is going to come up until it snaps to the end here, and that should be 240 pixels. And so that means the last one needs to come over here, and that's going to be 480. So make sure that you're able to see those properties, because you need to make sure it is absolutely perfect. Then, if I have the art controls turned on, oops, see, there's the problem. I accidentally grabbed those layers and put them into that art layer, even though it was hidden. So I definitely can't do that. But now you'll see when I open up that layer, it looks like these things are not positioned into the center at all yet. So I might go ahead and position them down here just to make sure that that's where they're going to be. when I use the painting, when I use mandalas. Now I'm going to do the same thing for paintings. So I can hide mandalas and lock it. I might even lock the art controls, unlock my paintings, and let's make sure that we click on the paintings layer this time, and let's import our 3 paintings. So it's amazing how often you make mistakes in doing this. So here are my 3 paintings. The first one will come up here. It's still doing X45, and it must be the position of this guide is a little bit off. X35, Y130. So that means that one will go to 240 and 130. And this last one will go to 480 and 130. So we should now see all 3 in line. So here's the main difference. And of course, if we were going to be doing everything the way we want, this would come up. So that would be centered in the image, and our title would now appear underneath the image. But we're actually going to see those animate when we move them in Catalyst. So that's one of the great things about using Catalyst. Now, the last thing that I want to point out is even though we're putting these items on the side, they're going to import into Catalyst, which is awesome. It's why I love using Flash for designing stuff in Catalyst, because even though it's off the pasteboard or off the stage, it will still come in and be accessible in Catalyst. And if you did this in Illustrator, it needs to be on the stage. It needs to be fitting perfectly on the stage in Illustrator. Otherwise, it will be cut off and it won't import. So it means that all these, every graphic would have to be right on top of each other. And it'd be hard for us to visualize what's going to happen here. Because now what's going to happen when I click on this next button, it's going to slide over to the next image. Hit it again, it'll slide over to that image. And then, of course, I'll slide left and right with the button here as well. So I think that we're almost done. And the last thing that we need to do is go to our bio. And let's turn off everything and lock everything except for the bio. And in our bio, you'll see right now all we have is our text. So I'm going to move that down, and I'm going to import the image that we need. That image will go up here at the top. And then our text will flow right after our image. So that's going to be controlled by our scroll bar over on the right-hand side. And notice with our scroll bar, all we have is the library name. We don't have an instance name. And since it doesn't have an instance name, it'll use the name from the library as the name in Catalyst. So we're pretty much ready to go. All we have to do right now is go ahead and get our file back to how we want it to first load in Catalyst. So I'm hiding all the layers I don't want to see. And then I'm going to save my document. And let's do export image. And with export image, we're going to be saving out this new FXG file format. And this FXG file format's really quite amazing. So I just saved that out. And so let's go to the folder where I saved the files, and there's the FXG file, and you'll see an assets folder. If I go inside there, you'll see all the images that I imported into Flash, which is great. Now let's go back and take a look at that FXG file. And if I open it with Notepad or some sort of editor, you'll see that what I have here is XML code. And this is all the code for everything that's in the document. You can even see here's the information about the text that I have in there. And I could, if I really wanted to, I could edit things here, although I definitely wouldn't suggest that. So this is a really interesting file exchange format. But the cool thing is, if I go to Catalyst now and I import that FXG, or I create a new Catalyst design project from an FXG, it will analyze that file, bringing in all the different layers and symbols from Flash directly into Catalyst. And it will even bring those things that are off the stage. So if I go to my mandalas, you'll see all my mandalas now exist right in line just like they were in Flash. And this is the only software and method that I've noticed in Catalyst to be able to get things to import the way you want. You'll notice one difference though. In Flash, I've got this dark gray background, so I gave it a stage color. But in Catalyst, we don't get that. So we need to go to Modify Artboard Settings and change our background color back to that dark gray. Now let's go ahead and save our Catalyst project. And this is, I'm going to save over one that I've already created. And we're ready to go on with the Catalyst parts of this project.